Hello and welcome to our Impactful Projects and Planning Micro Training series. I'm Jamie Asdani. In today's session, we'll talk about planning for and managing your project's communications. So, what is project communication? Project communication is all of the ways that we communicate within and about our project. So, our internal communications with our project team and initiators, and our external communications with project stakeholders and our organization or community. I believe communication can be a project manager's superpower. Good communication in a project can create support for the project, encourage engagement among team members and stakeholders, and help you mitigate risks and avoid delays. Project managers often only have limited, if any, authority over their project team and stakeholders, so we need to use communication to influence and move people and our projects forward. It's been my experience that good communication can rescue a struggling project, while poor communication can derail even the most expert team and well thought out project plan. So, how do we leverage this superpower? How do we successfully plan for and manage our project communications? I've got 3 tips on project communication that I want to share with you today. First, I strongly encourage you to plan early for project communication. I often see project planning checklists that leave communication planning until the very end, almost as if it is an afterthought, a pesky task to consider once you've done all of your other planning. But I believe project communication is too critical to be left until the end of planning. That's why project communication is one of my 5 key elements of impactful project management. Along with scope, stakeholders, outcomes or deliverables, and schedule, a focus on communication can greatly impact your project success, especially for mission-driven organizations. So, how do we plan for communication? My second tip is to start planning by considering who, what, how, and when. So, who needs to know what about your project, and how and when will they need to know it? So, who and what tend to be directly tied to our list of stakeholders and their roles. So, our focus in communication planning is often on the how and the when. For example, our project may have a client or user we are building our deliverables for. They are our who. We want to get some feedback from them on their specific needs. That's the what. So, how do we do this? Maybe we're going to send out a survey, and we will send it out at a particular point in the project, perhaps pretty early on before we start building our deliverables. So, there is our who, what, how, and when. Another stakeholder or who is our project team. They need to know about the tasks that they're going to need to complete. So that's their what. Perhaps we decide that their how will be a project management tool with a task list board, and it will be available throughout the project so that we can be in constant communication. That's our when. In reality, though, we will likely communicate with a key stakeholder like a user or our project team in many different ways, in many different hows and whens. With our project team, in addition to that project management tool, we will probably also have team meetings and send emails or texts. And with our users or clients, we will likely go beyond a survey and send them emails, share reports, and we may even post updates on our intranet, website, or social media. This many hows and whens can feel overwhelming, but keeping our stakeholders engaged and informed is critical to project success. So we will likely need to plan to communicate across many different formats. Which leads us to my third tip: reuse and repurpose communication content. When you start laying out your who, what, how, and when, you will likely see some overlap. Perhaps 2 or 3 stakeholders need reports, one weekly, one monthly. Can your notes from a team meeting help you create those weekly reports? Can the content from that weekly report roll up into the monthly report? Can your monthly report content be repurposed on the website or a social media post? Look for overlap and opportunities to reuse and repurpose communication content. Creating and using templates for common communications is another way to reuse and repurpose content. Creating a template for reminder emails about tasks, team meeting agendas, and reports can save you as the project manager a lot of time. Creating templates is also a great way to be intentional about what you want to communicate. It's an exercise in thinking through your project communications before you are in the middle of a project and in the weeds with tasks and deadlines. That's why planning for your communications as early as possible is so important. Don't wait until you have an urgent message to get across or need critical information or a task completed. Think about your messages now in the planning phase of your project. So those are a few simple tips on planning for and managing project communications. By starting early and in conjunction with stakeholder planning, by considering the who, what, how, and when, and by reusing and repurposing content, you can improve your project communications and support project success. To help with the who, what, how, and when of project communication planning, you can download our communication planning worksheet. This free download of our simple worksheet is a great start to communication planning and is available at yazdaniconsulting.com resources. If you need support leading projects and teams, visit our project solutions page at yazdaniconsulting.com projects to learn about the services we offer. Great. So I'm happy to take any questions that you have about project communication. Please add them in the comments. I'm going to give folks a few moments to add any questions. Now, if I'm not able to answer your question live, I will respond later in the comments. And you can find all of the ways to contact me at yazdaniconsulting.com contact. So please feel free to reach out to me outside of this session to talk about your project's communication challenges. Okay, so a question I often get is, if we are using a project management tool, shouldn't that be the only format I need for communication? And well, I guess it's possible, especially for an internal project in an organization where all of your stakeholders are comfortable with and regularly use that project management tool. But I don't think that's the reality for most projects, especially in mission-driven organizations. And I don't think it's reasonable to expect folks who only interact with your project at a few key points to learn a new tool. Well, you can expect it and think it's reasonable, but I don't think it happens in practice. If I only have one task to complete or want to review a report on the project once a month, how comfortable am I going to get with that tool? I'm a fan of project management tools. I use them a lot myself and think they are great for communicating with your project team. But I think you will find that you will need to use other formats like email with other stakeholders. So plan to use a variety of formats. Another question is, what should I do if my stakeholders aren't reading my communications? I put out regular reports, but keep getting the same questions. So while I recommend planning for communications early, we often find that our original plan isn't working. The what or how or when from our plan just isn't getting our message across. So I would recommend asking your stakeholders how they would prefer you communicate with them. They may not initially have a great answer, but you may get some good insight. I would also suggest that in this particular case, perhaps your stakeholders' preferred format is direct questions. So perhaps you can stop sending out all those emails or just send fewer and make yourself available for questions. That might actually save you time. Okay, so feel free to comment or reach out and message me with any additional questions that you have. And thank you for participating in our impactful projects and planning micro training series. Visit yazdaniconsulting.com IPP to view all of the sessions in the series and learn about upcoming trainings. Thank you.